Your ability to get what you want out of life is accelerated by your ability to connect with other individuals. People are failing because they fail to access the gift that's in them, and they fail to activate the gift that's in other individuals. Right now, you have people around you who want to aid you, who want to help you in your epic quest. You just aren't activating them. Today, we're going to talk about how you can be the kind of person that people want to connect to and how you can help them to access their supplies for your desire. Imagine you are walking from where you're at to where you want to get to. And back in the, 60s, 70s, 80s, people would hitchhike. If you could hitch a ride with someone, you would absolutely get from where you're at to where you wanted to be much faster. The same is the case when you engage one of the 5 multipliers. So a multiplier is this: it's your time, it's your talent, it's your money. Those are things that are internal to you. It's your faith. This is that thing that you've got to stir up to keep believing. If you don't have it, you're not going anywhere. You got a flat tire. But the final one, the one that I absolutely have found whenever I engage, especially as a coach, whenever I coach people to grow business, the one thing, the 5th multiplier, the one they never touch is relationships. It's people. We have been put into a place to where it's as though we only want the glory that comes from success that we create ourselves. So we think we can't borrow other people's work. We can't share answers. We can't get answers from other people. We can't borrow. We can't get help. This is professional design. And we're going to be looking at, I'm going to be giving you the answers to how you can better connect with the people, how you can empower them to empower you, how you can unleash the multiplication power in others that is sitting at the ready for you. They're ready to give it to you. You need but to ask. So we're going to talk about asking. We're going to talk about how to get there. We're also going to be talking about just some of those ways that we can make sure that the things and the people that we love the most, we're not living with what I would call the drawbridge up. We live in a little town called St. Augustine Beach, Florida. And this right here is our bridge. And this is the Bridge of Lions. So there's a lion sculpture at that end. There's a lion sculpture on the end that you're not seeing. And right here in the middle is a drawbridge. And it does this thing where it comes up so that, so the boats can pass through. And obviously when it's up, you're not, unless you're Evel Knievel, you're not getting to the other side. So that is that's what relationships are like, unless you master the power of connection. If you don't master the power of connection, you might become like Pepsi in the mid 1980s. So mid 1980s, here is Pepsi, the Pepsi generation. And they were really, really, really trying to make a name for themselves. Even becoming in second place was a big deal. They still win in second place. But in the 1980s, they had a campaign slogan, and it says this: "Come alive, you're and the Pepsi generation." So they took that slogan, they would take this, and they would go to the largest market in the world, a place where Coke really wasn't, China. And they were going to bring this same slogan, the same American slogan, and they translated it into Mandarin. And well, when it was translated a little bit off. It used our words. Let's just say it didn't translate, because here's what it read to the people in China: Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the dead. Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the dead didn't help, did not help in what they were trying to accomplish. And so knowing your message and knowing who is the one to receive your message and how they are to receive your message, understanding how they understand, it's a big key. So maybe you're in business, maybe you're leading, maybe you have a company people, you have salespeople, maybe you're a salesperson trying to connect with other people. Do you understand how they will perceive whatever it is you're trying to communicate to them? In 2017, we were traveling through through Maine, and Maine is nice. Nobody there would take a meeting from me. And the story is, I've probably been around for a while. I've told you the story. We wrote a note. I was tired of not getting meetings with anybody. And I was so fed up that I went to the craft store and I bought 20 of these. And I wrote a note. And I didn't have ChatGPT to help me. So you'll have to forgive that I didn't get it exactly right. Because, my friend, when you take a step towards the right direction, you got to be willing to take some sloppy steps. Well, I took some sloppy steps. And apparently, there were a couple of lines within the notes that I was writing that that didn't sound maybe businesslike. It sounded like I was asking someone on a date. And I wrote half. I had my oldest son, who was my emissary at the time. He was writing half of those as well. And he said, "Dad, wait, this one's owned by the husband and wife. Who do I address this to?" And in my experience, if a husband and wife run a business, the wife is the one that makes the decisions. So I had him address it, write it, deliver it. We wrote the same letter to all of the people. And he went around and he delivered them to all of the people. And he walked in with this a note, a letter in a bottle, which is very novel. It was getting opened. It happened to have gotten opened before he left the building, and the person who came out to speak to my son wasn't excited. He's like, "Who's this from? What's the meaning of this?" And he was grabbing for my son's shirt, and he had a balled up fist with the other one because I'd used words like, "I'm very curious to meet you and would love to connect sometime." And, it was, it sounded like I was asking someone mysteriously on a date. Miscommunication, misunderstanding. How do people receive what it is that you are trying to say? So our goal, I guess what I want to get to you is I want to get you to a place today. My goal is to get people to lower the drawbridge. That as long as there's a disconnect, that you, my friend, are you're not getting your message to them, and also they're not getting their message to you. How do we avoid the disconnect? My wife and I were we were sitting in front of this bridge, just watching it go up sometime over this last weekend, and we realized how much this is so much like people. And do you ever have that person that you share your problems with? You share what's going on with you, but they never share what's going on with them. Have you ever had that? What typically happens in those relationships? Do you find yourself sharing with those people? The person who has nothing ever goes wrong. Are you talking to the person who always just wants to tell you what to do? I don't. Typically, those are people that I will suddenly I'll raise my drawbridge too. Like, if you're not going to be honest with me and open with me, I'm not going to hold open my heart and share honest connection if you're not a person to receive it. And by the way, not all people are people who are worthy of all of your honest efforts all of the time. Now, you're honest, you're giving effort all of the time, yes, but some people don't understand how to be genuine. And for you to labor and languish over that person who is going to take what you give them and use it to accuse you, use it to teach you, use it like it's not, there's no equal connection there. There are some people who want to see themselves above you. Usually, they're in the strategist category, not always, but they want to, or the visionary, but they want to see themselves above you. And so they'll never put themselves on your level. There's no connection. If someone is not seeing you somehow on their level, they are not connecting with you. They're lying to you. I was working with someone and he said, I talk to my son all the time. I feel like he's going down a wrong path. And, I get together with him and we have these times and he's always like, Dad, you're right. I know. I know, Dad. You're right. That's right. He says those things. And I stopped the person I was talking with and I said, what's happening when someone is telling their dad who's lecturing them, you're right. Dude, your son is just shutting you up. Your son, he's just trying to shut you down so you don't keep talking on and on and on. It's a defense mechanism because they feel like your side of the drawbridge is not down. They're not going to lower theirs. This is not an honest communication. Dad, you're right. Not an honest communication. As a matter of fact, in the book, Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss says that you don't want to listen for someone to tell you that you're right. He said the key is if they're telling you that, they're not in agreement with you. The key is you want to get them to say, you know what? I know that's right. So that there's a difference between them telling you you're right and that's right. I don't totally understand all of it, but I do know this. Communication, connecting, communing, it means to cohabit, to be in the same place. So even as I'm talking to you right now, are we in the same place? Or are you doing something different? Are you thinking about something different? If you are, that's fine. Doesn't hurt my feelings. But what it does do is it removes the power that I can bring into your situation. People are multipliers. And at any given time, even if they don't know as much as you, forget about if they know more than you, even if they don't know as much as you, at any given time, people are multipliers. People, even if they don't tell you something on purpose, they can tell you something by accident. Let's look at a couple of these real quick. But the goal is that we want to lower the drawbridge, but also get other people to lower their side as well. When people are connected, it's actually like this is, I don't know how this looks on your computer screen. This is the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel in biblical, in the Bible, it basically was, it was all of the people, all were connected, all spoke a common language. And they were building, and then of course they end up getting confused, and their building stops. But according to teachings that I've heard, this was it could have been a tower to astrology, a tower to the stars, a tower to something that wasn't God. And God said, "Man, this is kind of crazy because right now they're pretty much unstoppable because they all speak the same language. Because they speak the same language, nothing they try to do can be stopped." It is interesting, side note, it is interesting that as we look at what's around the corner into this next iteration of business and life and profession is going to lean heavily on connecting to others through technology. And the fact that technology lowers the barriers helps you to, like, AI is it's a language aid. It's a language aid because even before this, I was asking my AI, ChatGPT, hey, what are some stories that might lend? She knows all my catalog of stories that I have, but also others in history. And I said, what are some that might lend to others receiving this message, because I know for learning to happen, there are a couple things that I have to do. And I'm going to share those openly with you, that if you want someone to receive your message, if you want them to lower their drawbridge, I'll show you how to get that done. Let's talk about a time when it didn't happen though. When I was a kid, one of the greatest things that I got to witness growing up in Florida, it was, I never saw one in person, actually. Never got to see one in person, but we lived not super far away from from Titusville, Florida, Cape Canaveral, Florida, where they would launch, and they still do launch rockets and all kinds of things, but they would launch the space shuttle. And as a class, we would either get on a bus and go on a field trip there, which I never went, or we would go outside of our classrooms and we would watch the shuttle, and the teachers, they would wheel the TVs out on the carts, these big giant box TVs, so that we could hear the broadcast and hear what was happening. And they would say, look at this part of the sky, so we knew which way the shuttle was going to be going. And on this day in 1986, there was someone that, not just someone, but a group of someones that were pressured to shut up because of a pressure to get to a deadline. And these people were the engineers who said, listen, the O-rings that are in the solid rocket boosters, launchers of the space shuttle, those O-rings are susceptible to freezing. And when they freeze, their integrity is compromised. And they had a freezing night. It went down below the 30s. I remember going out that morning and it was cold. And they wanted to tell people, but they were hushed. It was the whole, this is what you're doing, and this is what I want you to do. Right. So that was the message that was there. Hundreds of people working together, and they weren't allowed to communicate. It was just like, shut up. This is primary. Shut up. This is primary. The drawbridge was up. And of course, what followed was the tragedy of the Space Shuttle Challenger as it blew up and lift off from a faulty O-ring. So there are times and places where what it is that you have to say is not welcome. If you are in that place, fix it or leave it. And I'm not talking about marriage. I am talking about where you work. Tragedy will follow where communication doesn't exist. Where the drawbridge is up, you are alone. And what it feels like to be alone is not good, but also it creates scenarios to where you have access to one CPU, one brain, one sport. Listen, you are great, you're enough, but also if you want to do great things, you need others to do it. Have you ever heard of Alessandro Volta, Humphrey Davy, or Joseph Swan? Ever heard of any of those guys? Probably not. But these are, as science and science magazines, these are the ones who are attributed with the invention of the light bulb, not Thomas Edison. You know what Thomas Edison did really well? Thomas Edison made it better. As a matter of fact, he said that his best invention was improving the inventions of others. He had over 1,000 patents, and almost all of them were remixes of other people's patents. And this is a side note for those of you who are entrepreneurs. If you want to find something that you should be doing, find something that people are already buying, they're already wanting, they're already in love with, and make a variation of it. Make a remix of it, and do it a little bit differently so that there's novelty, there's originality, but you don't have to be completely unique in what you're inventing. Okay. Those of you who are inventors, it is best to draw from the invention of others. And that's what this guy did. And so he's down in history is not only, and listen, if you're one of those people that hate him because what he did to Nikola Tesla. This guy right here, he knew how to lower the drawbridge of society. He knew how to get something that was acceptable and marketable. And that sometimes is a part of what we need to do, right? We think that we win because we're better, but we don't. We win because we're able to successfully get people to lower their drawbridge. We win because people will, for those of you who are selling something, because you become the kind of person that people will buy from. Not because what you have is good, but you become that kind of person. And the kind of person is the one that's able to get others to lower their drawbridge, lower their guard. Are you starting to see any themes here? Now, this right here goes with, I would say what we're talking about is the natural skill of the connector archetype. So the connector is made up of three. So the everyman, the companion, and the lover. And each of these, I was like, it's funny, my brain, I was like, wait, where's the caregiver? Well, I renamed the caregiver into the companion. So, but these people naturally are able to get us to lower the drawbridge. Was with a few people this weekend, and there was definitely with someone who was this everyman personality archetype. And one of the neat things about the everyman is they make you feel like you're on even ground with him. Like you never feel like they're trying to be better than you. So if people aren't connecting with you, do you have an air of being better? Are you trying to show off? Are you trying to impress? Okay. Here's another one. The companion. What does a companion do? I want you to think of your best friend. I want you to think of the person that you feel like cares for you the most. These people in life tend to make great nurses, great parents, great teachers because they care. And so that's that second element. They care. So what does care look like? What does care look like? You know what it looks like? It looks like, or it sounds like this. If someone were to share something with you, you don't just move on to the next question. You say, tell me more. A companion is an empath. They feel what you feel. So if you're these two principles, the first one is to not make yourself out to be better than others. Matter of fact, to lower the guard. The next one is, can you make them feel like you care? And the final one is the lover. If you don't know what this person is, maybe if you have fallen in love with someone, you took on the image of the lover, and the lover is someone who pays attention to everything. They pay attention to everything. They listen, okay? They see the details. And so when you see the details, people understand, even if you never mention that you see the details, but you can mention that you see the details. You can say things like, oh, so what I understand that you're saying this, am I right? Is this what you're saying? So a lover trick is you can rephrase what it is that they're saying. The companion trick is that you can empathize and really try to feel whatever they're trying to say. Yeah, I hear you. And the everyman trick is it's more of an attitude, but I'm going to give you a way to do it in a moment. The everyman is just entering into something as though you are no better than that person. Now, a lot of people think, oh, I'm not walking around like I'm better than that person. Really? You don't think you're funnier? You don't think you're more adventurous? You don't think you know the right way? You're not trying to spiritually put people onto a right course. You don't think people are negative and you're the most positive? You don't think that you might be a little bit more creative, a little smarter, maybe a little braver? You know what to do. You don't think so? Of course, you know that we all feel some of those feelings where we feel elevated. And what I'm asking you to do is to lean into your power. Well, I'm not a connector. I'm a strategist. Well, okay, great. You're a strategist. You can still you can still take on the traits of a connector. One of the ways that I remember doing it, there was a guy that was my mentor and who really taught me one of my first hard lesson as a professional. His name was Chris Drew. And after it, well, I'm not going to go into all the times that he would help me, but what he would do is he would make me, through his tone and just through his compassionate, he had an expression of compassion, right? And it wasn't like, you poor little thing. It was just like, man, I want you to win. Like he really, really wanted me to win. I could feel it. But he could tell me the most difficult and harsh things. And I felt like the guy loved me. And the way that he did it was he didn't do it like this. His eyes didn't go down. His voice didn't go down. He actually came up like this. Maybe his voice even cracked. So there's a tone and there's a look. And so because I felt that in the future, like when I went beyond that and I was running companies or I had people that were reporting to me, I would just channel my inner Chris Drew. I literally would just act like this guy. I'm like, oh God, this is hard. I just want to punch this person in the face. So instead of doing that, because that's not going to go good, um, I, I'm going to act like Chris Drew. And I did, and it helped. So maybe you have someone like that that you can quote unquote channel. But if not, I'm going to give you a few tips to get other people to bring the drawbridge down. The very first one is I want to ask you to go first, right? If the other side of the drawbridge is not working, go first. One of the things that I'm known for in my household is being like, I'm like the in-home medic. So anything that happens, whether sickness or muscles or any of those things, I'm the guy people look to. There are lots of reasons to that, but one of the things that I have found is that if people have something going on with their back or their muscles, or specifically like in the back area, one can do, what typically happens is they have a muscle that's just locking up. And so what I do is I push the nerve that's associated with that muscle. And what it does is it flexes the entire muscle. And then when I release, it causes this part to release just a little bit. And I press it again, it flexes, and it causes a little release again. And I press it again and it flexes, and it causes a little bit more release. And over and over and over again, eventually this muscle that was just locked up to support the spine is released. I'm not a medical professional, but I know that this works. I know it's true because I've done it lots and lots and lots of times. And what I would say is when you're pressing, that's like you going first. It's almost like you have to give something for others to respond to. Now, if others have the drawbridge up, we have to understand they're probably afraid. They're afraid you're going to judge them. They're afraid they may become separated. They're afraid they may lose something. Most people walk through life afraid. And because they're afraid, they're disconnected. Now, if you're in a place where you realize that you haven't been honest with your spouse, with your business partners, with the people you're working with or whatever, if you feel like you have to have the drawbridge up, if you feel like you have to guard yourself, it's worth asking, what are you protecting yourself from? And what is the cost of that? Because what I'm about to ask you is something that's going to take courage, my friend. And the courage is you go first. You go first. You want them to share something that sucks? Share something that sucks first. You want them to share something that might be pain? or it might be something that brings shame, you do that first. That's why vulnerability is one of those top unlocks for a leader or someone who is a leader anywhere. It's a top unlock for you. If you can share first, that's something that's going to help others to feel safe, lowering their drawbridge. So with a couple recently, and I wanted to get to know someone, and this person, the partner was like not. There was some resistance there. I was like, they didn't want to, weren't interested in anything I was saying, hearing any of that stuff. And I think because a lot of times people see a coach or teacher, it's almost like this perception of like, oh, you're the smart one. You have all of these things to offer, and so um, I had to immediately lower that standing. It's so funny. Over my life, I've worked to be perceived of as this authority, but actually, sadly, most people, really truly, we don't connect to true authority. But true authority, or I don't want to say true authority, real authority is not afraid that looking stupid or sharing their shame removes their authority. And so that's what I did, is I shared some painful truth about me that wasn't pretty. And then another one. And it's like, and then ask, well, I'm going to give you the formula here. It's partly a formula, but I want you to have this go first mentality. Go first means that you are responsible. Go first means no one's going to ask you to do this. You just have to go first. You're going to be at a holiday and you're going to want to say something, but you're going to say, well, these people don't want this. Maybe if this happens, I'll go. Stop it. Go first. You might be wanting to reach out to a new business partnership. You might want to partner with someone or change positions or whatever. And you're like, well, I'll wait. And it's not appropriate time. It's not that. And I'm not saying to not have some, like, understand the time that you're in, but you need to commit to being the person that goes first, because courage is the first act for any of these things. Courage says, I am enough. But everything that's been holding your drawbridge up, it says, I got to protect myself because I might not be enough. And so you just first have to believe, I am enough. I'm connected to God. I am enough. And I have enough for whatever it is that I want to create. I have enough. These are truths. You have to believe. There's a faith element to this. Courage is about to happen. But you have to understand, no one's asking for you to do this thing during the holiday or at the party or, it's like, go first. Go before you're asked to. This is about you, not them. But to go through, I guess, like what I was mentioning earlier, you can, if you want others to open up, you press, and the way you press is by sharing pain. You share pain. Then we're going to invite them to lower their drawbridge. They're not going to lower it all the way, but they're going to lower it some. And the way we get them to lower their some is by asking. And when you ask, be curious. Be like this person right here. Be like the lover that really is curious about this person. Be like the companion that's very understanding. And even the first part is you being like the everyman, where you're just saying, you know what? I'm going to share my pain because I don't see myself any higher than you. And what we don't realize, guys, is it's because we share our pain that others are willing to go with us. So then we invite them to lower the bridge just a little bit by asking them questions. And if you don't know what questions, I mean, a couple of my favorite questions are, like, hey, what led you here? And then when they start telling me whatever, I want to know more. So tell me more about that. Wow. Whoa. That's like, allow yourself to be interested. Get out of your head the agenda of what you're trying to accomplish and just get lost in the moment. Literally connect with the person, be in the same space they are. You have to lose agenda. And that's one of the reasons I can tell you, I know you strategists, you don't like this because you feel like you lose control. But guess what? Your control was an illusion. You never had that. You were telling people what to do and they're like, okay. And then when you turn your back, you're like, there. So your control was an illusion. So just get rid of that illusion altogether. Connect with them. Allow for that moment to be what it is. Learn to ask great questions. I need to do a session only on questions. And then this one, listen and ask more. Listen and ask more. If the situation invites, do the dance, right? This whole thing is a dance, but if the situation brings it in, do the dance, right? You lower yours, they lower, and pretty soon there's a connection. And what you have is you have genuine relationship, and you have a place now where two brains can become one, where we can create effort that is multiplied. And even when things seem like they're obstacles, we can turn them into opportunities. We need to understand how we typically connect. I'm going to tell you this. There are some ways that you connect with others that is a gift to us. So I already went through these guys. I'm going to go through like some of the gifts of the visionary. So you shamans, you typically like to lead others, give meaning to others. You may be a healer internally, right? You help the emotional part. You optimists, you help us to see the bright side. You help us to simplify. You help us to get out of our way. You creators, you help us to see vision. You help us to see what's possible. You help us to see something beautiful in this current situation. You guys are all important. Okay. Um, Guess what you probably need to receive, by the way? The whole cycle of giving. And it's Christmas time right now, as of the recording. And the whole thing is if you bought a gift and no one ever received it, you were never able to give that gift to someone, it doesn't do any good, does it? So the cycle of a gift requires the giving from one and the receiving from another. Now, we all like to be the givers, but I'm going to tell you that as we look at these, you need to also learn to be a receiver. So you shamans, be open to others leading you. Okay, optimists, be open to sometimes, I don't want to say the dark side, but the downside, but also be open to not always having, like things being, butterflies and rainbows. You creators, let others like be marvelized or be excited, be enthusiastic, find enthusiasm, find power in others' creations. Like let them bring that gift to you. So the gift that you give to others, I'm saying you need to not only give it, but receive it. So find ways to not only be the giver of the gifts that you have, but also the receivers. Okay. Sage, you like to give order. You like to be the smart one. You like to give. So you give us precision. You give us protection. You give us structure. Guess what? Be open to receiving that structure from someone else. Be open to that. Like let someone bring that to you. There's an area of your life that you're not killing it in. Why don't you go get some of that sage structure from someone? You heroes, you like to go fight for us. You like to go win. You go into battle. You know what? Sometimes you need to let others ride into battle for you. It is that thing that we give that we have the hardest time sometimes receiving. Rulers, oh man, you want to know the answers. You're so hard. You know what? Maybe give us the gift of lowering your drawbridge a little bit. Give us the gift of letting us impart to you, or at least feel like we are, right? Maybe you absolutely need other people to lead you. We all need input. We need to receive gifts if we want to give our gifts. It's not a one-sided equation. And so with you, like if you're seeing a theme here, it is that we are asking for help. We're asking for engagement. We're lowering our pride. You jesters, you give us fun and excitement and novelty. Well, let someone bring that to you. Or maybe let them bring you, something like it's okay for someone to shine brighter than you sometimes. Let them share the spotlight. You have no idea that you can not only give something, but you can actually receive something when you see that. You don't have to be the best, okay? Explorer, not all the time, right? It is awesome that you see new things, that you're adventurous. Maybe not only just give us that and lead us to that, let others find someone who's crazier than you. Receive from them. You rebels, I know you like to give us like, hey, like let's fight the man and get be done with like topple a system. Maybe you need to receive sometimes a system, or maybe look at someone else that's like draw from others, guys. And you have a permission. I'm giving you permission to not always be the best. If you're going to be bringing your gift, you have to be a receiver of gifts. This is the power of connecting with others and having the fullness of what happens when two things come together. Listen, two things come together. We have thunder and lightning. Two things come together. Oh, I have these glow sticks that were, you pop them in the chemicals make a reaction. Two things together, mama and a papa, they make babies. Okay. It's like two things coming together is what is going to make what it is that you want. And I want you to not only have access to what's on your shelf, but what's on the shelves of all of these other people around you. And they would give it willingly and freely if you would lower your drawbridge and you would get them to lower theirs. Come together, draw from others, multiply for others, multiply from others. It's not only about you giving, it's about you receiving. And the way we do that is through connecting. Release the power that you bring when you connect. I know that you want to teach. Let someone teach you. I know you like to heal. Let someone heal you. I know you like to coach. Let someone coach you. I know that you like to lead. Let someone lead you. Receive the gift that you bring, and it will make you better at doing that thing. So